Hello, senior citizens like me. I'm Mike Hayes with Mike's AI 2-minute briefs for the time of your life. We are done with confusion. We are restoring our lives with AI and moving into abundance as the AI bloomers by growing more reasonable relationships, where we finally have the power to understand everything from our new cars to our doctors just by listening. To show you how simple it is to learn on the go, I'm handing the microphone to my team at AIPodcastListening.com. They guide me, and they will guide you too. Just listen and learn.
Let's talk about the single largest pile of cash that most entrepreneurs are just completely ignoring. We're going to follow a young founder, Alex. He's hustling, but struggling. And his story? It reveals a huge overlooked opportunity.
So Alex targets 25-year-olds because, they get tech. But the financial reality? Whoa, it tells a very different story.
He's pulling 18-hour days for a market with no money. It's a classic mistake, really.
See, Alex thinks it's all about speed, but empires, they're built on trust and, actual capital.
And this is that ocean of abundance we're talking about, trillions of dollars, all held by one generation.
Alex is just stuck on an old label. He hears Boomer and thinks they're too slow for his app.
But while he's busy chasing trends, something amazing is happening. They're not boomers, they're becoming bloomers.
And what's making this happen so fast? AI. It's the great equalizer, the fertilizer for this growth.
AI makes tech simple, cuts through the noise online, and mixes decades of wisdom with super fast data.
The result? A 75-year-old can check out a product in minutes, but with a lifetime of wisdom to back it up.
Meanwhile, Alex is just burning out. He's dealing with high friction and almost zero loyalty. Sound familiar?
But the AI bloomer model is completely different. It's stable, built on trust, loyalty, and capital.
They actually want to understand things, they're not on a rush, and they can afford real solutions.
So the big question is, how does Alex tap into this? Well, it's all about how he communicates.
He just needs to stop with the jargon, start talking like a real person, and actually offer to help.
This isn't just about getting a customer. It's about finding an investor, a mentor, a partner for life.
You see, the smartest founders get it. The so-called old guard is actually the new frontier.
So you've got to ask yourself, are you fishing in that puddle, or are you ready to build a bridge to the ocean?
All right, so let's dive in here. We are looking at what is, it has to be one of the most glaring economic paradoxes in the whole 21st century startup world.
It really is. It's this massive blind spot.
Yeah, because everywhere you look, the entire narrative is about disruption.
Yeah.
Right? It's about going viral, finding that next, fleeting trend on TikTok or whatever platform is designed for just hyperspeed consumption.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have these founders, and they are obsessively focused on attracting the youth demographic, Gen Z, millennials.
The digital natives.
Exactly, the digital natives.
Yeah.
Which, yes, they are, but they're also a group that's often, just financially buried under crushing student loans, wages that haven't moved, and historically high rents.
It's an enormous strategic mistake. It's just staggering when you really break it down. They're sprinting after a customer base that's incredibly rich in attention, but just so poor in actual capital. And in doing so, they are actively, consciously or not, ignoring the single largest, most stable, and most concentrated pool of wealth the world has ever seen.
It's like you said before we started. It's like searching for coins under the couch cushions while sitting next to an open vault.
Precisely. That's the perfect analogy.
And that vault, that colossal economic reality, is the boomer generation. Now, let's just pause on that for a second, because when most people in the tech world hear the word boomer, what automatically, pops into their head?
Oh, immediately. Technologically hesitant.
Slow adopter.
Yeah. They'll need too much hand-holding.
Exactly. The friction is too high. It's an immediate and, let's be honest, often very dismissive cultural stereotype. And this bias leads entrepreneurs to just assume that the market isn't worth the effort.
But the sources we've gathered for this deep dive, they don't just offer a reality check. It's a complete reframing of that whole narrative. This demographic isn't just wealthy.
It's undergoing a technological transformation that is so profound that it basically negates all of those historical friction points.
We have to start with the sheer magnitude of the wealth here. It's not a small difference. We're talking about the boomer generation controlling over 50% of the entire nation's wealth.
50%.
It's not a margin of error. It's a fundamental bedrock economic fact. And crucially, that old assumption that they are technologically slow or resistant, it's now functionally obsolete.
Because AI, artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
has become the great equalizer. And that's why we're introducing a new, and I think really critical term for this deep dive, one that reflects this huge infrastructural shift, the AI bloomers. This term, it's not just about a demographic anymore. It represents a technologically empowered economic force.
It really signifies a metamorphosis, a change, the old barriers, the tiny phone screens, the complicated user interfaces, just the absolute chaos of the internet.
Yeah, all that noise.
All of that has been effectively neutralized by AI. The AI bloomer is, in many ways, a new kind of super user because AI assists them exactly where the old system failed them. It allows them to engage with the digital economy with speed, with efficiency, and most importantly, with all that accumulated capital and wisdom they already possess.
So our mission today for you listening is to really pull back the curtain on this sort of invisible economy. We're going to reveal why ignoring the AI bloomer might be the single greatest financial oversight in modern business.
We'll show how AI isn't just making them viable customers, but it's transforming them into the ultimate business partners. It's unlocking a stable, abundant market that, frankly, chasing fleeting trends just cannot compete with.
We're basically providing the blueprint to recognizing where the true wealth potential is. So let's look at why so many young founders are focused on, as the sources say, fishing in the puddles. When the ocean is right there. Which brings us right to section 1, the invisible economy, fishing in a puddle. And this starts with a highly relatable scenario about the prototypical young founder. Let's just call him Alex.
Alex,
Yeah.
yes. I think we all know an Alex. His hustle is, undeniable, but his market strategy is just fundamentally flawed from the get-go.
He's the embodiment of that current startup dogma, right?
Yeah.
He measures his success purely by early adoption metrics, social buzz.
Velocity, that's his currency. How fast
Yeah.
can we move? How fast can we grow?
Exactly. So you picture Alex. He's obsessed with product market fit. He's working these grueling hours trying to optimize his user journey. And who is his target audience? It's, totally predictable, the 25-year-old.
Of course.
And his reasoning is, well, they get the digital world, they're fast.
And this is where the financial naivete really comes crashing in, because what is the actual financial capacity of the average 25-year-old in today's economy?
It's not great.
They might understand the tech, but the economic reality is one of really an unprecedented burden. We're looking at an average of, nearly $30,000 in student loan debt, rents that are eating up 40% or more of their gross income in major cities.
And salaries that just have not kept pace with inflation, let alone the cost of housing. It's impossible.
So what kind of user does that create?
Well, a high-friction user. They'll adopt your app in a heartbeat, sure, but they are incredibly sensitive to pricing. They'll demand a free trial, they'll fight you on every single subscription renewal, and they will jump ship the absolute moment a competitor offers even a minor discount.
Because every dollar is a battleground for them. It has to be.
Right. So they're fantastic users of free services, but they are, let's be honest, financially fragile customers. And that's why the source materials analogy is so on point. Alex is fishing in a puddle.
He's focused all of his intensive effort, the all-nighters, the venture capital he's spending on, trying to extract wealth from a very shallow, debt-laden, high-churn source.
And meanwhile, this immense stable pool of wealth, the ocean of abundance, is just completely ignored. This is the so-called silver economy, and specifically these AI bloomers. But I want to pause here. Why is the bias against them so powerful? It can't just be a simple technical assumption.
No, it's deeper than that. It's a cultural dismissal. And it's rooted in this obsession with speed and what's perceived as agility. Alex thinks older consumers are too slow, too risk-averse, or, too expensive to acquire.
Compared to the ease of just running a viral marketing campaign to the young.
Precisely. It's a classic case of confusing effort with effectiveness. He's putting a huge amount of effort into a very low-capital demographic.
Let's get to the core insight of this section, because this is where the thinking really shifts. Alex's bias, it stems from a complete misunderstanding of the fundamental currencies that actually build durable, lasting empires.
Alex is obsessed with speed and virality.
Which are valuable, yes, but they're the definition of a fickle, short-term currency. Empires aren't built on how fast someone clicks like or how quickly they download a free app.
Not at all. The currencies that establish true multi-generational sustainable businesses are, and this is key, trust and capital. And the AI bloomers hold the dominant supply of both.
Okay, let's break that down. Let's start with capital, and let's go beyond just that simple 50% figure. What does that concentration of wealth actually look like? Where is it?
Well, it's not just liquid cash, though that is a significant part of it. The foundation of this wealth is just deeply, deeply entrenched. First, you have to look at the historical context. Many boomers bought real estate during periods of much lower interest rates and comparatively lower home prices.
So they have massive, often fully paid off home equity.
Exactly. It's concentrated, non-leveraged wealth. And that equity provides a kind of financial resilience that the average 25-year-old just can't even fathom. They have collateral, they have stability.
And what about income?
Well, secondly, historically, their employers were far more likely to offer defined benefit pension plans, the kind that guarantee an income after retirement.
As opposed to just relying on a defined contribution 401k model that's so common today?
Right. This provides predictable, reliable, passive income streams. And that's income that is often specifically used for quality of life purchases. Exactly the kind of product a founder like Alex should be selling.
So their wealth isn't just large, it's structured completely differently. It's stable, it's resilient, and it's far less constrained by debt and volatility. They actually have the means and the structural freedom to purchase things of value.
That's it. They have the financial resilience to pay for solutions that genuinely solve a problem for them, and they are far less likely to demand the lowest price point if the quality is demonstrably high. That's the capital side.
Okay, now let's pivot to trust. This is where I have a little bit of skepticism, just playing devil's advocate here, because the tech industry often warns us that older demographics are prime targets for phishing and scams.
A very crucial point.
So doesn't that high vulnerability suggest that they are inherently less trusting of new digital businesses, not more?
It requires a bit of nuance, but that's a great question. They are vulnerable to scams precisely because they still rely on traditional models of authority and trust. They trust a phone call that sounds official or an email that looks professional.
Okay.
However, when they find a company that delivers consistent, transparent value, their loyalty is incredibly high. They're not loyal to novelty. They are fiercely loyal to reliability.
So that high friction environment of the youth market, the constant ghosting, the high churn demanding instant gratification, that's replaced by a market that actually values consistency and what the sources call a reasonable relationship.
Yes, absolutely. When a business delivers on its promise, the AI bloomer becomes fiercely loyal. Their loyalty is sticky.
What do you mean by sticky?
I mean, they don't churn because of a small price difference. They value the established service and the consistency it provides them. And what's more, when they recommend a product, they recommend it to their peers who also possess significant capital and hold similar values.
Which leads to these high-value, high-trust referrals.
Exactly. The network effect is powered by capital, not just clicks.
So the opportunity here is it's massive. We're talking about shifting the entire focus from these high-volume, low-margin, high-churn transactions, the Puddle phishing, to establishing high-trust, high-value, long-term partnerships in the ocean.
You're not just gaining a customer. You are potentially gaining an investor, a long-term revenue stream, and even a mentor who can offer guidance based on decades of professional experience.
Alex really needs to realize that optimizing for clicks is temporary. Optimizing for trust and capital. That's how you build something that lasts. So if the problem's ignoring the wealth, Section 2 is the solution. It shows how this wealthy demographic is actively, right now, transforming. We're calling this the Bloomer Evolution AI as the fertilizer. This is the mechanism by which that sleeping giant finally wakes up.
And we really have to linger on that linguistic shift for a moment. Moving from boomer, which, carries all this cultural baggage of being past tense, something that has already happened and faded, to bloomer.
Which implies active growth.
Active growth, development, future potential. It's a crucial mindset change for any entrepreneur. This demographic isn't static. It's dynamically engaging with the world in a new way.
And what's driving this growth? It's not some slow generational shift. The source material is very clear that AI is the fertilizer. It's the rapidly applied technology that is removing those historical, technological, and environmental barriers.
Let's really dig into this specific technological barrier. For years, the major pain point for older users was the physical interface itself.
Right.
The entire computing world became optimized for the smartphone. These tiny screens, tiny little keys, requiring very fine motor skills and sharp eyesight. These physical limitations were the primary obstacle to digital participation for so many.
It was essentially an exclusionary design.
Yeah.
I mean, if your vision wasn't perfect or if you struggled with dexterity, digital interaction just became frustrating and slow. You just give up.
And now that barrier is basically gone. AI just bulldozed right through it using voice-to-text and generative AI. This is what we're calling the AI equalizer.
And it's not just basic dictation, right?
Oh, not at all. Think about the complexity involved. Modern voice AI, the kind powered by these large language models, it can handle different accents, it understands context, it can insert punctuation, and it can handle complex multi-step commands, all just from a person speaking naturally.
So an AI bloomer doesn't have to squint at a tiny keyboard to compose an email or, conduct a complicated search anymore. They can just speak their request.
And the AI translates that thought into perfect digital action. It completely shifts the interface from a visual and dexterity test to a purely conceptual one. The bottleneck is no longer the speed of your typing, it's the speed of your thought and your wisdom.
If you can articulate a complex request, the AI handles the execution. That levels the playing field instantly. It allows the bloomer's decades of knowledge to be put into immediate action.
Yes, but the sources also highlight a second barrier, which I think is just as important. And that was the environment of the modern internet itself. It's not just the screen, it's the chaos behind the screen.
Absolutely. The internet is a fire hose of unfiltered, overwhelming information. Just imagine trying to log on simply to verify a fact about an investment or a medical procedure.
You're immediately confronted with 50 conflicting SEO-optimized articles, banner ads flashing at you, videos that start playing automatically, pop-ups demanding your email.
For someone who didn't grow up navigating that specific digital chaos, it's incredibly stressful. It's confusing. And ultimately, it just causes technological avoidance. You just don't want to deal with it.
The cognitive load required to sort truth from noise was immense.
And this is where AI acts as the filter and summarizer. Instead of you having to sift through all those contradictory articles, the AI assistant acting like a sophisticated research librarian, it processes all that conflicting data.
Yeah.
It verifies cross-references, and it synthesizes a simple, concise, stress-free summary.
The source mentions the principle of the check-in method, which is fundamentally enabled by this filtering process.
Tell me more about how that filtering process actually works on a deeper level. It's not just, cutting and pasting sentences together, is it?
No, not at all. When an AI summarizes, it's performing semantic analysis. It's chunking the information. It identifies the core arguments, it filters out all the rhetorical fluff and the clickbait, and it can even provide source verification.
And critically, it can adjust the tone of the delivery.
Yes, to be authoritative and calm, which reduces that sense of digital panic. This transformation changes the internet from a labyrinthine hunt for data into an instant consultative service.
So the bloomer logs on, speaks a request, and receives a well-researched, distilled, trustworthy answer instantly. That is a profound shift in utility.
And the result of these two forces, the vocal input from the equalizer and the summarized, filtered output, is this immensely powerful combination that we're calling speed plus wisdom.
This is where the AI bloomer becomes, objectively superior to Alex, our young founder. Let's go back to that scenario from the sources. We have the 75-year-old bloomer and the 35-year-old entrepreneur, and they're both researching the same complex product.
Right. The speed comparison is now largely moot. The bloomer, using sophisticated voice commands and AI summarization, can research the product's features, check its legal standing, compare prices across the market, and read summaries of historical consumer satisfaction in minutes.
Just as fast as Alex can using his traditional methods, the speed is equalized.
But the wisdom element is the critical differentiator. Alex is interpreting that raw data through the lens of, maybe a decade of professional life. His context is limited to very recent history.
Whereas the bloomer is applying 40 more years of accumulated professional and life wisdom to the exact same high-speed data.
Exactly. If they're researching a new financial product, they can instantly recognize the structural echoes of something that failed during the savings and loan crisis in the 80s or the dot-com bubble of 2000.
They recognize market hype because they've seen 3 or 4 market cycles already.
They aren't just fast researchers, they're fast evaluators. They see the red flags in the regulatory language or the fine print that Alex, despite all his speed, might completely miss because he just lacks that historical context.
So their decision-making is not just faster, but fundamentally better and more discerning. The AI bloomer is a highly sophisticated, technologically adept consumer and partner who knows how to effectively use massive amounts of data to protect their capital and identify genuine value.
They're the market that knows how to use the information most effectively.
Okay, so the AI bloomer is now fast, they are wealthy, and they are wise. This completely transforms the relationship dynamic. Which brings us to section 3, which focuses on the business model created by this demographic, the power of the reasonable relationship.
And before we can analyze the solution, we have to fully diagnose the environment that most young founders are currently operating in, which the sources term burnout culture.
Let's define that burnout not just emotionally, but financially. What does high-friction, low-loyalty actually cost a startup?
It costs everything. I mean, burnout culture is characterized by exponential acquisition costs because your churn is just rampant. You have to constantly acquire new users just to replace the ones who ghosted you.
Or unsubscribed for a marginal saving.
Exactly. The transactions are rushed. They're often based on scarcity marketing or aggressive flash sales, which forces a focus on sheer volume over actual margin.
And crucially, that high volume of broke, demanding users leads to a crushing customer support load.
Precisely. Because those users spend the bare minimum, they feel entitled to demand the maximum level of support and features, often without even checking the FAQ.
It's a huge psychological and financial drain on the entrepreneur.
You spend 50% of your resources chasing new users and another 40% dealing with high-friction, low-value existing users. That is the unsustainable path that leads directly to entrepreneurial burnout and capital inefficiency.
So the AI bloomer market offers a direct, powerful antidote to this.
Yeah.
The reasonable relationship model. It's stable, it's high trust, and it's grounded in a mutual respect for value. So let's look at the defining characteristics of this stability.
Well, the first one is it's almost counterintuitive in this age of rapid consumption. They understand the product.
I feel like I'm Alex right now, and I'm a little bit offended.
Yeah.
Are you saying that I, as a Gen X or millennial founder, never read the manual? Because I absolutely skip the setup process 99% of the time.
You and most of your generation, and that's exactly the point. The young market is optimized for skipping steps, for getting to the result immediately.
Right.
The bloomer, however, values completion and getting it right the first time. They will read the manual. Or, thanks to that AI fertilizer we talked about, they will listen to the comprehensive AI podcast summary of the manual.
But why do they prioritize this understanding so much?
Because they value their time and consistency over impulsivity. They have the time to dedicate to understanding the product, and their goal isn't immediate gratification, it's long-term utility. If they are going to spend their capital, they want to ensure it's spent correctly and that the product will integrate seamlessly into their life.
And the positive implication for the business is just huge there. If a customer actually understands what they bought, they don't misuse it. They don't demand features that were never promised.
And critically, they don't flood your support channels with basic, easily answered questions. It dramatically reduces your operational friction and your post-sale costs. You get to deal with competent, informed users, which is the gold standard for any software or service business.
It lets you scale quality, not just quantity.
Exactly. And the second characteristic just reinforces this. They value time over rush.
In the burnout culture, every single transaction is rushed. It's often impulsive. This leads to massive buyer's remorse, high returns, and that constant feeling of, did I get the best deal?
The bloomer is different. They are making a considered purchase. They are not rushing the transaction. They are verifying it.
So their patience allows the business to properly vet the customer, to ensure the solution is robust, and to confirm that product fit, all of which leads to a much stickier sale.
Precisely. This patience translates directly into long-term loyalty. They aren't chasing the next shiny object or the 5% off coupon. They value the reliable, established relationship.
Once that purchase is made, they're invested.
They're invested, having used their wisdom and their new AI speed to ensure it was the right decision. This makes them significantly less susceptible to competitive poaching.
And finally, the characteristic that solves Alex's core funding problem. They have the means.
If you target a demographic with deep pockets, you solve the broke customer problem instantly. It's that simple. If you successfully solve the bloomer's established problem, and remember, they are discerning, so the product has to be good, they can afford to pay what that product or service is truly worth.
Which means the entrepreneur can finally maintain healthy, sustainable margins. They don't have to engage in that zero-sum game of price wars.
They can price based on the high value they provide, knowing the customer not only respects that value, but can fully afford the premium cost. This is the foundation of a sustainable business. When you serve a high capital demographic that prizes quality and loyalty, you can move away from all that efficiency theater and actually build a truly resilient, high quality, long-term service.
The reasonable relationship. It's high trust, high loyalty, and generates high predictable revenue. It is the absolute antithesis of burnout. Okay, we've established the wealth, we've established the technological enablement by AI, and the superior business model. So now we transition to the crucial, actionable part section 4, the bridge communicating with the new vanguard. If entrepreneurs like Alex want to pivot from puddle fishing to the ocean of abundance, how do they need to fundamentally change their language and their technology?
The first, and maybe the simplest, change is purely cultural and linguistic. The young entrepreneur has to immediately jettison the high jargon, hyper-casual, and frankly often dismissive language of the tech bro.
You mean that language that relies on acronyms, assumes you already know about the latest funding rounds, and uses these vague terms like synergy and disruption without ever explaining the concrete value proposition?
That language is a trust killer for the AI bloomer. It suggests arrogance and a total lack of transparency. Instead, the entrepreneur needs to adopt what the sources call a voice of reason style.
What does that sound like?
The communication needs to be clear, highly concise, structured. It has to emphasize long-term benefits, security, and proven value over hype and velocity. It has to show respect for the customer's intelligence and, importantly, their time.
It requires a certain patience, which is often difficult for a founder who's optimized for that viral velocity. They need to slow down their explanation and just focus on clarity.
Exactly. They must lead with the why and the how this benefits me personally, not the how fast it is. That cultural shift underpins everything. But the biggest technical shift we have to address is the priority shift away from complex UI or user interface to voice.
This is the direct implication of the AI equalizer we were talking about.
Right.
Since complex visual UIs were the historical barrier requiring high dexterity and visual acuity, and AI has now enabled flawless voice input, the smart business has to prioritize audio delivery and voice integration.
Spending millions of dollars on a slick, visually complex app interface that requires 20 taps and 3 finger swipes to complete one action, that's money completely wasted when you're targeting AI bloomer.
Simplicity, clarity, and voice-enabled tools are the solution.
Because they are inherently accessible and they leverage the bloomer's newly acquired AI-driven speed.
So the smart entrepreneur should be prioritizing audio delivery and conversational AI integration over just visual perfection. This leads us to the specific tools the sources suggest. First, let's talk about creating audio explainers.
This is a fantastic example of using AI to bridge that trust gap. Instead of relying on a 50-page, densely written technical manual, which is high friction for everyone, not just the bloomer,
Guilty.
the entrepreneur uses technology, like a sophisticated tool such as Notebook LM, to convert that documentation into easily digestible audio formats.
Okay, so explain how a tool like that works here. It's not just a basic text-to-speech robot voice, right?
No, it's far more sophisticated. A tool like that ingests massive amounts of source material, the product specifications, the legal documents, the warranties, everything. It then uses generative AI to perform semantic analysis, breaking that complex text into logical chunks.
So it understands the content.
It understands it. It generates summaries. It identifies key terms. And critically, it can generate an audio explanation that is structured like a conversation or a high-quality explainer podcast.
So it's designing content specifically for listening, using clear language and a measured pace.
Precisely. It caters directly to the AI bloomer's preferred consumption method. They speak to the machine, and the machine speaks back to them in a clear, digestible format. This turns a high-friction instruction manual into a low-friction learning experience, and it instantly builds trust because the business demonstrated respect for the customer's preferred communication style.
And the second key method addresses post-sales support, which we already established, is critical for maintaining that reasonable relationship. It's offering check-in support rather than relying solely on those automated chatbots.
Automated chatbots, they're the bane of the modern economy. They really are the pinnacle of high-friction, low-trust interaction.
They trap you in an endless loop of frustration. They hide the human agent behind layers and layers of irrelevant pre-programmed responses.
And for a wealth-holding customer who values their time and expects quality, this is an immediate deal-breaker. They associate the automated chatbot with disrespect and low-value service.
So what's the alternative?
The check-in support model. It leverages AI's filtering capability to assist the human agent, not to replace them. The AI bloomer uses their voice assistant to ask a complex question. The AI then aggregates all the necessary data and prepares the support agent with all the context needed for a personalized, human-assisted follow-up.
So the human agent calls the customer back, but they've already been briefed by the AI on the exact nature of their problem, their historical purchases, and any potential pain points.
Yes. That personalized human touch reinforces the reasonable relationship. It shows accountability. It says, we respect you enough to dedicate human time to solving your complex problem, and we're using technology to make that human interaction highly efficient and valuable for you.
So it's not about avoiding technology at all.
No, it's about using technology like AI summarization and voice processing to facilitate a superior human connection and build trust. By building these high-trust, low-friction bridges, the entrepreneur is securing a partnership that is built to last.
That is the ultimate outcome. By empowering the bloomer to use AI to fully understand the business and the product, the entrepreneur transforms them into a highly effective, loyal, and competent advocate. This connection isn't just a sale.
It's a commitment for life, backed by immense capital and institutional wisdom.
Which brings this whole narrative full circle. The smartest young entrepreneurs, the real successors to Alex, will recognize that the old guard has not just retired. They are transforming. They aren't looking backward at the boomer stereotype. They are serving the new vanguard, the AI bloomer.
Respecting the AI bloomer, serving them with clarity and value, is the clearest path to securing a financially resilient future. It's where the wisdom of the past meets the speed of the future, all financed by the world's most stable wealth pool. So, to summarize this entire extensive deep dive for you, the learner, we have really identified 3 major interconnected paradigm shifts. And these must be immediately integrated into modern business strategy if you are seeking stability and capital.
Number 1, we confirm the unparalleled concentration of wealth. That 50% of the nation's wealth held by the bloomer generation is not just a statistic, it is a structural reality. It's rooted in historical asset accumulation and low debt leverage, and it represents the most stable source of investment and purchasing power available today, period.
2, we analyzed AI's revolutionary role as the fertilizer. AI has functionally transformed the previously technologically hesitant individual into the technologically adept super user bloomer. This was achieved by removing those physical barriers with voice-to-text equalization and environmental barriers with data filtering and summarization. They are absolutely ready for complex digital engagement, but only if it's delivered clearly.
And 3, we detail the discovery of the superior business model. Entrepreneurs must abandon that high-friction, low-loyalty burnout culture of chasing broke, volatile demographics. The AI bloomer offers the reasonable relationship, a high-trust model defined by customer competency, patience, and, crucially, the financial means to support high-value, sustainable margins.
Understanding this shift provides a powerful economic shortcut. It really does. It allows you to immediately recognize where true financial power and investment potential currently reside. You should be prioritizing the market that has the wisdom to evaluate your product, the technological means to use it effectively, and the capital to pay what it's actually worth.
And the final provocative thought we want to pull from these sources is this. The most profound and lucrative disruption opportunity today might not be inventing some new, untested product for an already broke demographic. Instead, the real genius lies in finding a simpler, more trusting, AI-assisted way to clearly communicate and deliver existing, proven value to the wealthiest, newly technologically empowered consumers on the planet.
So we'll leave you with this question to consider. If AI has successfully fertilized the technological participation of the boomers, what other major societal group is currently being underestimated because of a perceived technological hesitancy? Maybe it's due to language barriers or socioeconomic factors or physical constraints.
And how might the next wave of accessible AI tools soon fertilize their full and meaningful participation in the economy, establishing the next new vanguard? The pattern is set. Who is next to bloom?
That wraps up another deep dive with our AI team. You know, I often say we are living in the time of our lives. And I hope today you heard exactly why. We are just getting older. We're getting amplified. When you use these tools to clarify the confusion, whether it's with your car, your health, or your business, you're doing something powerful for your life. You are turning noise into reason. You are taking control. But don't let the learning stop here. To keep this abundance flowing, I need you to take one simple step right now. Go to AIpodcastlistening.com, Check in with us. Grab the next episode and remember, you have the wisdom of a lifetime. Now you have the power to share it. I'm Mike Hayes. Let's keep growing reasonable relationships together.